the News Channel 5 network, this is MorningLine with Nick Barris.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on Morning Line. Nick Barris here with you on a Tuesday, and a good show on tap for you. We're going to invite you to join in the conversation as we always do. We're streaming live on Facebook at newschannel5.com. I will be monitoring those comments there. We'll also be taking your phone calls 737-7587. That's 737 the plus if you want to call in and join with the conversation. So much happening. A couple of items that we'll probably be focusing on this morning is the aftermath of this weekend's protest, and then later the vandalism and the looting and everything that happened here in downtown Nashville, where we go from there, what we see happening, what happens with regard to a curfew right now, and more. Also, we're going to have a chance to ask our guests, if you would like, about the situation involving the proposed property tax increase. There's a big budget meeting tonight, how you can participate, and as you know, the mayor has already proposed a 32% property tax increase. That's got a lot of people talking, so you can weigh in on that as well. Final segment of the show today will be joined by Brenda Sanderson. She's of the Stage downtown, and hers was one of several businesses that were damaged during some of the activity, the violence on the weekend here in Nashville. And we're going to ask her about how the businesses and how her business is responding to this and where we go from here. So a busy show, and joining us as he always has on Tuesdays. He was here yesterday briefly, but back is Metro Vice Mayor Jim Shulman. Good to have you on, sir.
Thank you, Nick. It's good to be back. I was here yesterday. I'm thinking that this is my second home.
Yeah, so. We're glad to have you. And also joining us at the same time right now, Jim is here in studio, social distancing, but electronically is Councilwoman at Large Sharon Hurt. Good morning to you, Sharon. Can you hear me all right?
Good. I can hear you just fine. Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, my pleasure. Thank you very much for coming. I thought I'd start and give you each a chance to give me kind of your take. Now we're a day removed from yesterday when they were evaluating and really getting a chance to look at how things went down the day before. Why don't I start with you, Councilwoman, if you want to give me your take on what you've learned within the past 24 hours and moving forward with regard to what we saw.
Well, you know, I am, of course, disheartening that things have had to take this type of turn, but there is no peace without justice. This is not just about Black Nashville, it's about Nashville as a whole. Nashville is demanding peace, and the Minority Caucus is demanding justice. We have submitted a letter to the mayor asking him for 5 things that we believe that will be most helpful in addressing the concerns that we have. And we will then have peace for the entire city of Nashville. That will lead us to a just Nashville if we have those things met by our mayor. We're only asking to be help in making sure that Nashville can be the best that it was meant to be.
I think that's what everyone hopes, Councilwoman, and I know you would agree, Vice Mayor. And she talks about, you know, some of the things that have to come out of this. I mean, I don't know what it's going to take to slow the protests. And we should say the protesters sometimes are being linked to a lot of this violence that we've seen, and that's not fair. I mean, a lot of the protesters sometimes went on, and there's a small group of folks that I think many believe were involved with what happened here in Nashville. But what's it going to take, and you heard the Councilwoman talking about that, to maybe convince folks that we are on the path to change and not just talking about it, things go back to normal and things don't really get any better?
So I think the council member said it well, and I appreciate what the Minority Caucus, they met yesterday and they do have a list of things, and that's what this is supposed to be all about. Starting with Saturday and the rally, it's about situations in this country that need to be addressed. And that's what the message again was on Saturday afternoon. And with people now, with things calming down, hopefully at least in Nashville, now's the chance to kind of go back and start thinking through this, because what we want to do is have appropriate discussions, peaceful discussions, and then see what changes need to be made. That's what's supposed to be great about this country, is that when we run into issues, instead of violence and instead of promoting violence and anything like that, this is where everybody just takes a breath, everybody kind of takes a step back, you look through it, you come up with different ideas and initiatives, look at the things that Councilmember Hurt just talked about, and we start working through those to see what changes we can bring. So Nick, in answer to your question, things are hopefully calmer. I know there was a rally last night that ended up on the steps of the state capitol. Weren't as many people, but it was very peaceful, and everybody just kind of all got along, and everybody's starting to realize that you can't bring about change by throwing, plaques and rocks through the courthouse windows and writing, nasty things on the courthouse face. You bring about change through proper discussion, and we start talking about it. And hopefully we're on our way to that. We're still not too far away from Saturday night, but hopefully things are a lot calmer now.
What do you know? I'm just curious, either one of you, but I guess Vice Mayor, with regard to the curfew. I know that the mayor, continued it through this morning. And coming in for me, I had to come in early yesterday morning, and I was actually stopped going across Memorial Bridge, and they found out who I was and what my business was, let me go. They weren't out there this morning, but I saw a large police presence. There was a curfew till 6. Do you understand that it may be continued tonight, or is that something still being decided?
Yeah, it's my understanding the mayor has permission through the governor to extend for, I think, 4 more days. So we can continue to see this. I think what you're seeing is that every day the mayor is evaluating the information, what's appropriate. So remember, on Sunday night, the curfew was 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. Last night, it moved back to 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. We'll see what happens tonight. One of the things that we had to work with is obviously we have a council meeting tonight, and so we may have people coming to the council meeting, and we want them to feel comfortable coming to the meeting and leaving, so we're working with the mayor's office on that. And Councilmember Hurt can respond as well, but I think the proper thing for the mayor to do is to evaluate the information and then make a decision based upon how things are going. We want to keep everything safe and peaceful.
Councilwoman, what do you think in terms of the curfew, and are you confident maybe that the city is past some of what we see in terms of the violence right now? There may be still more protests and rallies, but hopefully it's not going to get violent again. What are the keys there?
So I think that the only thing, the antidote to hate is love. And I think we have to show that type of love. It comes from our leadership. The leadership that we have, I think, in this country is protesting every day through texting or tweeting, whatever it is that he does. When you tweet that if you loot, you can shoot, for calling people thugs, having no compassion so other people like him will feel free to do whatever it is that they want to do. I think that if it comes from the top, that we're gonna trust you. It's like making sure people are innocent before they are treated guilty. And that has been disproportionately utilized. So I think that we have a perfect opportunity right now to say, hey, we appreciate, we cherish every member of this city. And I think if we start showing that, we miss a great opportunity in being able to do that. So putting in the curfew is a sense of violence. I always look at the fact that Colin Kaepernick took a knee, and it was peaceful, but the country was in unrest about that. They felt like he didn't do the right thing, that he was dishonoring the country, and all of that. And now we see what it is, because people feel as though they have not been heard. So what we've got to do is show. We can't just say it. We can't just talk the talk. We got to walk the walk. And you've got to show that you are listening, and you're hearing the cry of the people.
Okay,
and if you look at it, I'm sorry, but if you look at it, it's not just Black people who were there. This is all of Nashville that's showing their concern for this city. It was several people who were crying and disheartened to see what happened at the city hall.
Sure.
It was all of us.
Sure. And just so I'm clear, so are you okay with the curfew, or would you prefer that there not be a curfew?
I would prefer that we would have a different approach, is what I would prefer. And see, because I think if you take a different approach and not do that, and of course I understand I'm not a law enforcer by no means, and I don't know, never have been, so I don't know necessarily how the strategies and approach that they are taking, but I do know that the Black community feel like they've been strained enough. They've been put into a straitjacket enough, and they are just at a point where anything goes. You know, I mean, we had slavery and we forgave. We've had Jim Crow and we forgave. We all of these things that have been put upon us, we have forgiven and we've moved on and made the best of it. And as we continue to speak and say and talk, whether it's silence by just dropping a knee or whether it's speaking our voice, it still isn't heard. So I think we've got to have a different approach. I don't think that the restraint and eliminating the freedom that people have is the answer.
Okay, and real quick, we're going to take a phone call, Jim. Some people were asking online, at least as it stands, curfew in effect. You were saying it's 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. as it stands right now?
So it was last night, it was 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. What the mayor is doing is reassessing every day, so we're not sure what it's going to be tonight.
Okay, yeah, but just so folks know, it was 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., so there's no curfew right now, obviously. We'll learn later today if anything is going to be instituted, or perhaps, like the councilwoman says, maybe no more curfew. Let's take a phone call, perhaps, for the both of you, and we'll go to Felicia. Good morning, Felicia. Do you have a question or comment? Are you there, Felicia? Is it Delicia? Delicia? I guess not. Well, we'll see. We'll come back. Let's go to Ann. Ann, good morning. Hi, Ann.
Good morning. For over a year, the Community Oversight Board, and specifically all Black and white community members that have worked with the Community Oversight Board and Community Oversight Now, have tried to get an open dialogue with Chief Anderson and have been repetitively turned away by Chief Anderson. And I have asked Equity Alliance, I have asked Community Oversight Now, and I'm asking you, do you know if in the last 72 hours Chief Anderson has reached out to any of our minority leaders or any of our leaders with Community Oversight Now? Or
Okay. Councilwoman at large, any of that you're familiar with? Has there been any contact with the chief?
As far as I know, there has not. I know that the deputy chief reached out to Jill Fitchard, who is the director of the Community Oversight Office, and they were asking if she was coming out for the rally, and she actually happened to be visiting her aunt in Clarksville, who's of age. A senior citizen, and had been very ill, and she wanted, and they opened it up. So she was there trying to see, and when she told them, they hung up the phone, is what I was told. So I don't think, and I thank you, Ann, for speaking about this, because that's one of the things that I think is really, really important. This Community Oversight Now office, board, all of that was created because this is what the people said that they wanted. And we're just asking for some cooperation to open up the trust so we can work together. understand what it is that we want and what we need so the city can be better.
Okay.
And we can be better together.
Councilwoman, can you stay with us for one more segment, ma'am?
Absolutely.
Okay, stay right there, and we'll get you to weigh in on this as well, Vice Mayor, in just a moment here. The idea of dialogue in the aftermath, and she says maybe not as much perhaps as she would have liked to have seen. We'll see what you know about that, because certainly at this time, crucial is communication between all. And let's get that dialogue going if it wasn't there to begin with. So we'll take a break and we'll continue, give you a chance to weigh in on this, take more calls and questions for our guests on Morning Line right after this. Stay with us.